Welcome to Season 2024, and League of Legends is bringing some of the biggest changes we've seen in quite some time. Mythic items are no longer a thing, loads of items have been removed too, and tons more new and exciting items have been added. The Summoner's Rift has also changed. Baron now has 3 different forms, the Void Grubs are here to party and they give a damage over time buff to towers, and the Rift Herald is now controllable. More changes to terrain as the top lane is now more of an island than ever, the mid lane has a ton more space making that harder to gank as well, and now the bot lane is much more even, rather than being more beneficial to the blue side. So the meta is going to flip upside down with tons of new builds and loads of different champions popping up and down. So don't forget to download Mobilitix to stay up to date with all the best champions you should be playing with our tier list, and import all the best builds straight into your client in Champ Select. But without further ado, here is our predictions for the new Season 2024 patch 14.1 tier list. So let's jump in and start off with the top lane. Due to the map changes here, this lane is now much more difficult to gank and will already have an impact on the meta here on its own. And that's before even talking about any of the item changes. The top lane is arguably the most counter-pickable and anti-blind pickable lane in the entire game. There are tons of different matchups to learn that can destroy certain champions, and if you do get on the wrong end of this, it can feel completely unplayable, especially due to how wave control plays its part up in the top lane. And now with junglers probably not going to come up there as often, it's going to be even harder to recover from these disadvantages. Well, this is good news for strong dual lists like Fiora and Jax, as these will instantly have a better time, because let's be honest, it's probably going to be more of a 1v1 lane, which is kind of what it's supposed to be anyway. Strong tanks like Ornn and Malphite are also looking extremely good here, due to the new options they can build with Hollow Radiance and Kaenic Rukern as incredible magic resist options. Plus a new item called Unending Despair for some armor and magic damage and healing in extended fights. To add to this, enemies can now only build one of Black Cleaver, Lord Dominik's or Serylda's, meaning anti-tank items have taken a hit too. Lethality is a big deal now though, with huge flat buffs across the board. And more assassins will be played across all roles with top and mid laners, junglers and even AD carries too. But the great thing is, if you do pick a huge brick wall tank against them, they will have a tougher time taking you out. Speaking of lethality, we expect a lot of champions in the top lane to be building it now, especially with Gore Drinker being removed. Champions like Riven, Pantheon, Jace and of course Quinn. Gore Drinker bruisers will obviously lose some strength due to the item's removal and now have to play around alternatives. Luckily for them, Stridebreaker is still here and now it's even stronger as it still has its slow, but now it has a move and speed boost as well, being a brilliant option for champions like Garen, Olaf and Sett. Plus, as mythics don't actually exist now, you can also build Stridebreaker alongside other strong options like Triforce. And don't forget about Spear of Shojin too. I know it's not a mythic, but it's still a great option alongside these other ones. Trinity Force is changed, but it will still remain a great item on champions like Jax and Fiora. But Divine Sundra is no more, as it's been replaced by Sundered Sky, which now doesn't use a sheen anymore, so the Spellblade passive has been removed. And instead it just grants more sustain and is suited to trading less often rather than just straight up 1v1 duels. So yeah, Khmer will probably use it, but Triforce is looking like it'll be a more popular item. AP champions are looking incredibly good this patch. Now mages are losing HP on their items but having much more damage, and AP assassins with Storm Surge look crazy strong. However, we just don't think the top lane will be the most appropriate place for them, with either fighters who can use them to snowball from or full anti-AP tanks with the new items not allowing them to function. You'll still definitely be able to counterpick with AP champions like Sylas or Gwen, but they just don't seem as blind pickable. Well, let's have a look at the tier list now, and in the S tier we have Akshan, Darius, Fiora, Garen, Illaoi, Jax, Malphite, Olaf, Ornn, Quinn, Riven, Trundle and Tryndamere. Yes, that is a lot of options, but you'll see a pretty obvious trend of mostly strong duelists and fighters, those that have a really good 1v1 presence overall. There's also the big bad tanks and the niche picks too, like Quinn, who may be more situational but seriously OP in the right lanes. Trundle is also a unique pick that is both a fantastic duelist but also is one of the best anti-tank champions in the game with his ultimate, so definitely keep an eye out for him. Aatrox, Camille and Pantheon could swing either way based on what becomes super popular. And then you've got those one-trickable champions like Rengar and Singed who will still be terrifying in the right hands. AP tops like Rumble and Kennen should bounce back this patch too, but just probably not going to be blind pickable. Let's go into the jungle next, and for the map changes there's quite a lot to think about. The solo lanes are now much more difficult to gank, and it seems like a lot of early pressure will probably be focused around the bot lane, although the Void Grubs are pretty OP too, so don't forget about those either. Strong full clearing junglers will be even better now, as with the lanes being harder to gank, just amassing tons of gold and experience from camps will be an easy option. Alternatively, junglers like Zac and Nocturne, who have great clears but additionally have long range ganking abilities, will make them insane picks this meta. Lane ganking will also be a much better option here too, so Rengar and Rammus will also improve from this. Taking down objectives quickly is still a great trait to have in the jungle, with Void Grubs, Dragons and Heralds being super important. And it's worth noting that Bel'Veth only needs to take out one Void Grub to get her form. Speaking of which, she looks like a great champion to play this patch, with her solid item choices in Blade of the Ruined King, Kraken Slayer, Stridebreaker, as well as Jak'Sho too, as again, mythic items don't exist anymore. Starting jungler items aren't going to change, so thankfully you don't have to wrap your head around anything there. However, the new item changes will probably cause a big shift here too. Now, as we mentioned already, AP assassins are looking super strong this patch, and in the jungle you've got Diana, Gragas, Evelynn, Elise, Echo and loads of other options you can roll with the new Storm Surge, which offers crazy damage, especially alongside Rocket Belt. Now these items don't have mana, but in the jungle it doesn't really matter because you don't really need it. Storm Surge basically adds more burst once you deal a certain amount of damage to your target within 2.5 seconds, and once it procs, it feels pretty damn OP. Fiddlesticks is going to be as scary as ever this patch. All that new terrain to ult from, and you've got amazing AP itemization options already. But now the new Malignant item gives you a reduced cooldown on your ultimate, as well as fantastic stats and even more AoE damage and magic resist shred too. So yeah, if you are a Fiddle OTP, enjoy the freeload. Speaking of Malignant, this is yet another reason why Karthus is going to be absolutely bonkers here. He clears exceptionally quickly, and with this item and a bit more AP, he's going to be an absolute menace. Lethality assassins in the jungle will definitely be bouncing back this patch, especially if they have a solid clear too. Picks like Blue Kayn, Briar, Hecarim, Kha'Zix, Rengar and Graves will all be incredible options. The OG Tiamat is back, and now it upgrades into Profound Hydra, which is finally a Lethality Hydra item. Duskblade has gone bye-bye, but Ghostblade still exists, and now there's a new lethality option called Cyclosword, which has an energized proc that recharges faster with dashes or stealth abilities. Kayn is a little bit of a weird one though, because we aren't really too sure if Red Kayn will be that good due to the removal of Gore Drinker and how much he relied on it. But Blue Kayn on the other hand seems like it might just be completely broken. Shadow Assassin Kayn can zoom around the map, gank over those weird walls and terrain and clears exceptionally quickly. Everybody knows how scary a good and fed Blue Kayn player can be, so definitely watch out for him this patch. But if you're looking for the best jungler to play this patch, that we predict is going to have to be Nocturne. He's already been good in Season 13, but now everything changing just suits him. Fast clear? Yep. Long range ganks? Yep. Solid items? Absolutely. He can build Bruiser, he can build Lethality, and now there's a new item called Experimental Hexplate which gives AD, attack speed and health. But its passive is the fun part, because it gives you ability haste on your ultimate and an attack speed and movement speed steroid after pressing R. That sounds pretty damn strong. Well, let's have a look at how our jungle tier list looks this patch, and in the S tier we have Bel'Veth, Briar, Evelynn, Fiddlesticks, Graves, Karthus, Kayn, Kha'Zix, Nocturne, Rammus, Rengar and Zac. Amumu will for sure be an amazing pick in low elo this patch because of those really strong tank itemization options. Brand will still be a strong choice despite some changes to his core items, and Hecarim will still be Hecarim. Champions like Kindred and Master Yi will continue to be incredible options in the right matchups and drafts, and don't sleep on Trundle or Warwick either. Lee Sin and Jarvan do fall down a bit this patch though, with the removal of Gore Drinker and the map changes making unsuccessful ganks extremely punishing. Xin Zhao is definitely one to watch out for though, especially in lower elos, and we expect to see some more play of Sejuani and of course Qiyana too. Okay, now let's have a look at the mid lane, and the lane is now much wider and the brushes on the sides of the lane are further away. So I don't think many Rengars will be coming to gank you if you main mid anymore. Speaking of assassins like Rengar, there'll be plenty of AD1s in the mid lane though, and they'll be using the new items in Profane Hydra, Cyclosword and even Opportunity, which gives a burst of movement speed after killing your enemy. You definitely want to get yourself mentally prepared to see a lot more Qyanas and Talons this patch. Oh, and by the way, mages will now have less health overall from their respective itemization, so I guess easier kills. Then we've also got AP assassins, and in our opinion these are looking like some of the strongest options you can play this patch. Champions like Fizz and Akali are going to be seriously scary with really strong itemization options and tons of damage, especially once they pick up the new item Storm Surge. We do feel like this is more of a second option though, so a core build for Fizz could be something like the new Luden's Companion, then Storm Surge into the reworked Shadow Flame. And then after that you've got the new Zhonya's changes, which gives an additional 40 AP. Now it is a little bit more expensive, but still, that is a lot of damage. So if you are a mage player, you probably will be pretty happy with the new season. Now I know I've spoken loads about assassins already and you are going to have to play around them, but the fact your lane is now wider means you are more difficult to gank. So hopefully you can enjoy sitting by your tower, poking and farming away to your heart's content. Luden's Tempest is now called Luden's Companion, and it is pretty similar really, and it will be the typical go-to rush item for a lot of poke or burst mages. Liandry's has been changed quite a bit though. I mean, it still has the damage over time, but it just offers AP and HP now, and the mana has been removed, so you probably won't be building it anywhere near as often on a wide range of champions, and it'll be more suited to specific ones as probably more of a third item onwards. Then we have Malignance, which we mentioned earlier when speaking about Fiddlesticks in the jungle, and this one basically reduces your ultimate's cooldown and shreds magic resist. Stat wise, it gives all the same ones that Luden's does, so it's a pretty viable early item on certain champions that rely on their ultimate to do their thing. We actually expect this to be an amazing choice for champions like Anivia and Swain, who can consistently proc this passive effect with their use of their ultimates. Rite of Ages will still be a great choice on certain champions for sure, and then Crown and Everfrost don't even exist anymore. But other strong AP itemization options later on into your build like Cosmic Drive, Horizon Focus and Deathcap will still be very strong options to consider. So how does all this affect the mid lane tier list? Well, in the S tier we have Akali, Akshan, Fizz, Kassadin, Neeko, Sylas, Syndra, Taliyah, Talon, Twisted Fate and Xerath. There are a lot of assassins, both AP and AD, in the A and the S tier this week, as you'd expect from all the things we've just spoken about. Artillery and control mages like Xerath, Anivia, Hwei and Victor are all looking really sharp as well though. And then champions with global pressure like Twisted Fate will continue to be solid picks to impact games early on. And anyone with a global ultimate is immediately better now, with lanes being harder to gank in general. Taliyah is one of the champs we expect to pop off most though. She does take some practice, but she has a lot to offer here. She's already been strong for a while, but now she has even better item choices. She's a great pick into mobility champions and assassins. She can shove, she can roam and gank with her ultimate, so if you do enjoy her, now's probably the best time to pick her up again. Well, now let's move down to the bot lane and go over how patch 14.1 affects our AD carries. And just as a quick note, even though IE and Navori aren't mythic items anymore, they still are unique, so you can't build them together. Rest in peace Gale Force, as it has been removed from the game, so Jhin will have to go for either the Infinity Edge Rapid Fire build or instead just build Lethality, with Ghostblade into Collector or something similar. The Trinity Force changes make it a lot weaker for AD carries now, so Vayne and Ashe probably won't really use this anymore and resort to alternative options. This will definitely make Ashe weaker, but Vayne does have a bit more build diversity, with even the Lethality Vayne build getting some popularity recently. Speaking of Lethality AD carries are what we expect to rise into the meta, especially in the early days of this patch. The lethality buffs are pretty big as they don't scale anymore and instead give you the full amount as soon as you purchase them. So snowballing AD carries like Draven, Misfortune and Samira will likely be prioritized a lot more here. The bot lane is likely going to be played around a lot more too, with it being much more open than other lanes and much easier to gank than other lanes too. So realistically, picking a super safe, immobile scaling AD carry just doesn't really seem to make too much sense here, unless the draft is just a perfect fit for it. Now there is one main new item for hyper carries though, and especially the on-hit variety with Terminus. This is an on-hit item mainly bought later into games that has a passive with a stacking armor and MR buff, as well as mixed penetration too. This seems really interesting on carries like Varus and Kog'Maw, but it isn't really an item you want to rush early on, as the benefits aren't really that good until you have some items already. So how does the tier list look for the bot lane? Well, in the S tier we have Draven, Jhin, Samira, Misfortune, Karthus and Vayne. Caitlyn can also be an interesting choice as her build hasn't changed too much and she has been performing well recently. Plus there's also Lethality Caitlyn too. Ezreal doesn't really feel quite as good with the item changes and Ashe falls down a tier here too. Kai'Sa is one to watch out for though, because whenever there's item changes and there's a new build that works for her, quite often she soars into the S tier. So keep an eye on her over the next week or so. Finally, it's time for you support mains and let's have a look at the changes. Now the biggest change here is the new starting item called World Atlas, which is the same starting item for whichever support champion you pick. This will generate gold, and then you can spend your gold to upgrade this into 5 different options. Celestial Opposition is a damage reduction and a slowing shockwave. This seems like it's the most all-rounded option that could be used on a bunch of different champions. Solstice Slay gives health and movement speed to a nearby low health ally when you slow or CC an enemy. Bloodsong gives support an on-hit Spellblade passive that exposes enemies' weaknesses, making them take more damage for a duration. Dreammaker blows buffing bubbles towards your targets when you heal or shield them, which empower them or reduce their damage taken. And then finally there's Zack's Realm Spike, which has an AoE void explosion around an enemy champion when you damage them with an ability. Dawncore is a new enchanter support item with AP, mana regen, healing and shielding power, and summon a spell ability haste. There's also a new support tank item called Trailblazer, which builds movement speed whilst moving, and at max stacks you'll leave a speed trail that allies can use to also gain movement speed too. Once you hit an enemy at max stacks, you'll also slow them by 50%. This is definitely going to be a really good roaming support item on those tanky melee supports. Zeke's Convergence is now also getting changed, so now when you cast your ultimate, it summons a slowing Frostfire Storm around you, making it an incredible option for champions like Rakan and Alistar who want to get stuck into the mix and lock enemy teams down. Speaking of aggressive support, those that can set up ganks and create plays are likely to be really successful at the start of Season 2024, with so much of the focus being played around the bot lane. CC heavy picks like Maokai, Rakan and Rell are amazing at doing this, as well as hooking supports like Blitzcrank, Thresh and Nautilus too. So in the S tier we have Blitzcrank, Janna, Maokai, Nautilus, Pyke, Rakan, Rell, Senna and Thresh. As we just mentioned, we expect the majority of the top support meta picks to be those that can really create plays and impact the game right from the start. Leona and Braum will likely see an improvement here too if the lethality AD carry meta catches on, but sustained supports and enchanters like Sona and Lulu probably won't quite have the same early game impact. Pokey mage supports could be really interesting here too, with Xerath really proving how hard he can carry from the bot lane recently. It all just does depend on how strong the items are, but we're really looking forward to experimenting a bit more with AP support itemization, especially with the new Zax. Well, there you have it. That covers all of the changes coming in Season 2024 and our initial predictions on the best champions you should play as the season starts. Don't forget to head to our website to see the tier list in full for yourselves and download our desktop app to get all the best builds and runes imported straight into your client in just one click. Thanks for watching guys, best of luck on your new season climb and we'll see you next time. Take care.